Your ability to stay kind of sharp, both physically and mentally, is something that's also obvious when you spend some time around you. When Bruno shows up best, what do you have to be doing on a daily basis in order for you to show up the best version of you?
It's getting in a routine. The best me ever is a really hard workout on a nutrition plan and have my agenda and my deliberate plan for the day and try and stay on it. A healthy mind, a healthy body, and a work ethic is everything to me. The next Born Primitive hire I have, I'm judging the person, the character. Do you fit our team? Do you have what it needs to be here? But do you have the gas in the tank? That's the biggest place where guys post-military fail. But what keeps you is how much gas do you have in the tank? How much innovation do you still have? Or are you done? Did you flatline?
You're listening to the Born Primitive Podcast. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Born Primitive Podcast. How we doing, Tone?
Morning, Bear.
I gotta make a confession.
Let's hear it.
I had a perfect bar this morning, and it was pumpkin spice perfect bar.
Oh,
it's that time of year, man.
God, you're embarrassing.
It's football season. The leaves are falling. I'm eating pumpkin spice. I didn't go to Starbucks yet, though, so no, I will not do that. So I had to
tough look.
I had to self-confess and get that monkey off my back.
I respect that. I respect that.
All right. Well, today's guest is actually one of our employees, and he's done an incredible job here. You know, a lot of you might have tuned into the episode we did with Tony and his journey as VP, kind of coming from the shelves room and the warehouse to VP in a very short time, and kind of the approach he took to get there. And Bruno, his background is much different than Tony's, but has been an absolute value add since he joined us. So I want to give a quick bio on him and kind of what he's contributed thus far, and hopefully we can get to some of the lessons. But so Bruno Fallon, prior to Born Primitive, he did 40-plus years in our military, started as a Ranger, then he became a Green Beret, and that wasn't good enough. So then he joined the 160th, which, for those of you who don't know, is basically our most elite aviation unit on the planet. And then his last 11 years was a part of a Tier 1 unit. So he has been there, done that, an incredible record of service to his country. And we brought him in to stand up Born Primitive Tactical, which is something that I wanted to do when I was in, didn't have the bandwidth. I saw the opportunity and the need for the end user to get good tactical product. Of course, our brothers in law enforcement as well. And obviously Bruno, with his background in this, came in and was able to hit the ground running and absolutely exceed expectations. And this is a portion of our company that's absolutely exploding right now and presents a lot of opportunity. So we thought we would hone in on that a little bit. But first, Bruno, I want to bring you in and I guess give us a quick rundown on you and your background.
First of all, it's good to be here. You know, the running joke after being in the community for 40 years was the first time I met you guys. I really didn't know that you guys were looking at me for an opportunity. I thought I was just meeting some good guys. And, you know, we had another individual, Max, Tony's brother, in the room. And I walked out and I said, I think this is a job interview. And I went home and my wife was like, so after 40 years, you're going to sell apparel. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do that. And then I thought about it, and I thought about the crew here, and I thought about the opportunity. And the way it presented itself, it became a challenge to me, and I wanted to jump on it. So it was extremely hard leaving that community. It's everything I've ever known. The last organization I was in, you know, very well funded, very well run. I love the mission. So it was stepping out of my comfort zone and coming here. It's probably been the best decision I've made because it's a new challenge. I love it, and I'm staying and providing something to the community that is void. Apparel has been a big problem in the community for years, and I think we're nailing it here. And based on who's running it and where it's going right now, I'd say we hit it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I love doing it. I still have guys calling me every day, though, and they're like, no, what are you really doing? You're not selling clothes. They think it's a cover story.
Yeah. Well, it would be a great cover story.
Oh, my God.
Maybe it is a cover story.
Yeah,
I don't know. You listeners, you never know. And what's cool, and I experienced this, but, you know, when you transition out of, you know, special operations community, there is that void, and you're never going to replicate that dynamic. But, you know, you more so than me, but still me a little bit, like we're still around it enough that we kind of get the best of both worlds. I mean, shit, you literally just came from the range. You were with, guys from a tier 1 unit helping to train our local law enforcement here in Virginia Beach, right? So
Yeah, I mean,
you just had a shooting belt on 30 minutes ago, and so we're not that far removed from the old life, but so it's if there's any way to transition, I think you did it right.
No, and that's a fact. I mean, the fact that I got to go to Normandy and jump into D-Day to represent this company with a very elite group of former operators, and some of the content shoots we do where I actually feel like I'm back in the seat on a mission. It is not a normal apparel job, but I think that's the testament of why we are where we are in the apparel business and tactical. Nobody else has employees like we do that's actually done the mission. Nobody else takes it in the real environment and puts it through the grind like we do. And nobody else puts their name on it. They came from the community and stands by it and believes in it so much. So I think that's the difference maker right there.
Yeah, I think just on that point, and this kind of frames up, I think, all of BP tactical in general, that I think is the real differentiator, is the way we've approached developing the product. And it's almost like, it's hilarious because I got to admit, I wouldn't have taken it as far as you did, right? Like with apparel. So for example, like we're developing a tactical boot right now. And Bruno was in the ocean last week and swam a mile with fins on over the boot to make sure that it would hold up in the maritime domain, right? And he went over the beach, and we have the water, the water holes in the inside, so it drains out to make sure that works, and there's not getting sand jammed in there. And then we had guys jumping it. We are going to arrange to do real life fast ropes with it because we want to make sure you can do a 50-foot fast rope and it's not going to burn through the fast roping pad. And we're on version 9 or 10 right now. And that's just the shoes. We did the same thing with the op camis. And these are little details. Like, let's say a guy goes in free fall and the zipper slowly opens as he, gets down to pull altitude. They'd say, hey, that zipper needs a little zipper garage on the end, so that doesn't happen, right? That's a little detail that no one would have caught had we not actually, all right, we have to jump this whole kit. And that's what I think what I'm most proud of is when it finally gets on the guys, the likelihood we've missed something is very low because we've actually went through all of the different kind of scenarios and even sent it to different continents with other special operations units to validate it. You know what I mean? So desert, winter, one good example is winter with the knee pads, right? We never thought a knee pad would freeze and crack, but since we were sending it to guys that were in an Arctic environment, we were able to learn that, okay, this foam, when it's -15, cracks. Okay, get a new foam, right?
That's
so
right.
I don't think the big companies we compete against are, I mean, there's no way they're doing that level of T&E. And then just to get it validated by the guys from the fit and pocket placement, even like, hey, this cargo pocket, it's not quite big enough to hold a door popper, right? Can you make the cargo pocket a 1/2 inch wider so we can fit our charges in there? You know what I mean? That's a level of detail that, the big dogs, one, they don't have access to, and two, I don't think they care as much about, but those are critical details for the end user so it's been cool. You have championed that culture. Again, I think I would have sent it out to the boys and, hey, what do you guys think? But you took it to a whole nother level. And when you get the product right, as we know, everything else takes care of itself with that viral component of the product. And you've done a hell of a job creating that.
No, I appreciate it. And you're the same way I am. I'm putting my name on this product. Everybody knows I'm here. Everybody knows that we're behind it. And for it to go out the door, the big thing in the regular apparel industry is, you tear the ass out of a pair of pants walking through the mall. It's one thing. You tear it out after doing a 25,000-foot night free fall jump on another content on a real world mission. And that the same carries over to our outdoor products. These guys go out on an extreme backpack hunt. They don't have the ability to pack extra clothing with the weight and the load and the terrain they're going through. So we've got to get it right. And from what I've seen, in the time I've been here, we're at the 98% mark on getting it right, and we own anything we don't get right, and we'll do that. That's because we're putting our name on it. If you don't do the T&E though, if you don't grind the product, you'll never know. And that's you mentioned the boot that we're working on. It looks great. It seems to function great, but we keep finding these little things. So yeah, we're on version 9. And before we put our name on it, it may be version 11. But when it hits the guys are going to recognize the detail and the features and the durability. And that's all that counts.
Bruno, I'd love to rewind a little bit to your start here and your transition out of your former job. What would you say was easy, and what would you say was the biggest challenge of filling into what has to be just a complete new landscape, both from like the actual structure of the business, but then the personnel too? You're working with different people, there's different objectives. So as you reflect on having been here now for about a year and a half, what was easy, and what maybe continues to be something you have to reflect and kind of work on to integrate into a different culture?
The first one is real easy. The military, especially the special operations in the Tier 1 community, is very structured. We operate fundamentally on standard operating procedures. There's things I don't even need to look at a guy for how his kit's packed, how he's going to move, what he's going to do, how he's going to fly, whatever. You get out into this space and everybody's kind of operating on their own plan, but following the boss's guidance. And that's very hard for me to adapt to, but obviously I am. I do see though that because the company, the CEO of the company has that military soft background, the unique thing about Born Primitive is it has some of those basic tenets in the way it's fundamentally run. And that helps me. And I honestly think it helps the business. And I think that's another reason why we're outperforming the space. We get it. People understand, I call it commander's intent. He gives commander's intent. I know what he wants. I know where the painted lines are. And I know that as a director, if I stay in the painted lines, I can freewheel wherever I want to reach the end state. I would say my biggest fear in coming into the private sector, honestly, just me being the person I am, was the whole HR side of it. Like, am I going to be too rough on people? Am I going to be too direct on people? Am I going to hurt feelings? Again, the culture here, the employees here, there's a lot of ex-military, a lot of ex-law enforcement, there's a lot of military spouses, there's a lot of athletes here. It seems to me like the majority of the people that work here have been through a grind of some sort where leadership is, a valuable piece of it in being a good leader or follower. Again, a reason why this company performs the way it does. I'm still learning, coming into the apparel business, especially at the director's level. And one of the things that's fostered here is the leadership invites you to, I think it's leader development, invites you to meetings that are CEO level meetings that you don't need to be in, but it's for your upward development. And one of the great things about the military is you should be able to step into your boss's role at any time, because literally you could be that guy in the speed of a single round, right? So here we train that way and we learn that way, and we allow our people to grow. I still, when you talk the nuances of apparel and time and details and stuff, I'm still learning, and I will continue to learn. But we bring a lot of good people in underneath us and we empower them. I really see my role now, now that I understand enough. I'm really knee deep in the marketing side. I'm really knee deep in getting the brand outside of this building, which is a game I already knew. And that's something I can excel at. I've done that for years. I know how to go talk to people. But if you are in any business, I don't care where it is, the day you stop learning is probably the day you're no longer valuable to the company.
Yeah, the part I love about that is you've brought a sense, like, and I've heard people talk about this, of like, and actually Max, when he introed you, said this, like, Bruno will will things into existence. And I've seen that while you're here. And I think it's been something that a lot of people here can learn from. And I think Bear's really good at it too. And I think if you're going to be at a high level, you have to be able to do this, where you have a vision. You've got to not only be able to take notes from other people, but then stay crystal clear on how you're getting there. And a lot of times there's going to be pivots within that, but you have an uncanny ability to like have a clear vision and then just literally make that happen. And that's something like very few people, because it takes not only the networking skill you have, but then it takes the everyday audacity just to show up and keep moving. Because a lot of times you don't know the right fucking answer, but as long as you keep iterating on testing things, you'll get there. And I think tactical is a perfect example of, like, I think, and I'm guilty of this at times, you can stagnate if you try to get too in the weeds on creating a perfect system from the jump, rather than just moving, creating action. Of course, certain things like products, don't move too fast on that. But as far as just getting out there, networking, putting yourself out there from a social standpoint, tactical has been a great example at Born Primitive of, like, just raw energy getting put into it and the benefits you have of moving fast on things.
Yeah, well, and you're you're not intimidated by thinking too big, right? Like I'll provide a good example is like the last 2 tactical content shoots we've done, right? You get in the seat, you have no idea what you're doing, and you come to me and you're like, hey, I want to do a big content production, and here's what I want to do. We're gonna have a couple helicopters. We're gonna get a bunch of dudes out to Arizona. We're gonna have miniguns. We're gonna have 3-barrel 50 cals. We're gonna have obviously rifles, pistols, the whole thing. We're gonna get 3 cars. We're gonna buy them. We're gonna blow them up with tannerite, and we're gonna do this scene and this and that. And I'm like, what? Like that's what I mean. But we did it in true kind of. I think this is kind of weaved into how we've done it because of your background in special operations. Is it became a team effort. So you're hitting up all these brands. Military brands that are also kind of like-minded, and all of a sudden they're helping us bring this to life to offset a bunch of our costs. And now we're doing a production that honestly, a big film company would have been $1 million plus easily. I mean, what did we shoot? 200,000 rounds of ammo. I mean, that alone. What are the mini gun rounds? Like
$1.75 a round.
$1.75 a round. What's the 50 cal rounds? Those are
those are about $4.
Okay, so $4 a round. We had a 3-barrel 50. And Bruno and I did dual miniguns, and that 30-second burst we did together, that was probably like 20 grand right there in ammo. I mean, maybe more.
Yeah.
But so we did this shoot, and we created this anthem video, and it was live bullets, real body armor. I remember when the crew showed up. I don't think you were there, but the camera guys that they kind of like contracted out that were local to like LA that we flew in. They see us jamming mags with like real bullets, and these guys have shot productions for Netflix and a bunch of other like big movies, and so they're used to being around the helicopters and the guns, but they're used to blanks, and we're jamming real rounds into our rifle mags to get ready for like the this little IAD run we're gonna do out in the desert. And I remember the first guy was like, hey, like are you guys those are real bullets? And like I think it was me and Kyle kind of looked at him like, well, hell yeah, they are. What else would we use? You know what I mean? And the guy's like, you guys aren't using blanks. And we're like, no, man, just stay behind us. We're good. It needs to be real. And we're shooting the car with tannerite. We got to blow it up. So we need, but we didn't, I mean, that didn't even cross our mind. And that, what I'm getting at is the authenticity of how that was executed. So then when our people and then law enforcement, they see the video, hey, it's real guys that did the job, not paid actors in Hollywood. And they're using the gear they would use and actual tactics, although we're not giving anything away. But that you didn't know any better. That was just like, of course, that's what we're going to do.
That's what we're going to do.
And then the sequel to that, we have guys jumping bundles out of a ramp exit aircraft and additional helicopters. We did a vehicle interdiction scene, with helos and a SUV. Bruno came out of the hatch with a minigun out of a blacked out SUV. So, it's you immediately didn't have a ceiling. And as we know, now the big brands in their boardrooms are talking, hey, where the hell do these guys come from? And you know what I mean? It's a disruptor. So, props to you for even having the kind of the vision, or maybe you were just too naive to realize that was a big vision. But you executed it. And
I think this goes back to being a special operator. One of the things that makes you a success overseas is building relationships. And working amongst the other tier units and working with the support units and even working in the conventional battle space that's owned by somebody other than you. If you get to a high enough level in the military where you understand how to do that, the biggest thing I see is a lot of guys are getting out and talking that were very junior in the military, and they never have been in the really closed door rooms with the CGs on the big stuff and understand how the picture's made. I did that for years. And to me, I just took that model and moved it to the private sector. Now, here's where the game changer is. There's so many people in the private sector that used to be in this military segment with us that I initially reach out to those guys, the Dylan Arrows, the Complete Parachute Solutions, the guys like that we're super tight with. All of them have a very deep, tier SOCOM background. And when you get with those guys and you pitch it, and they're like, literally, I had Chris Dillon telling me a couple times at Dylan Arrow, yeah, we've paid 5 production companies to come out here and try and do our anthem. I'm like, well, give me a swing. And we're an apparel brand. We're not a production company. And not only do we go out there and take a swing at it, but when they saw our anthem, what did we end up doing? We made Dylan Arrow's anthem video, and we're not a production company. We have actually, and these are good partnerships I want to keep. We've actually red-assed some production companies. They perceive us taking their business out there in the space. I'm like, no, We're not using actors. We're using real operators, and we're working with collaborating brands that we're moving their brand with our brand. And that's how I see doing it. It's the same way we did targets overseas, is we operate within the community. So when I get these calls, hey, when are you guys doing another content shoot? Hey, when are you guys doing another content shoot? I'm like, we're putting something together, and the brands that we're using, here's the part where I think it's the most important. We're loyal to these brands, and these are brands we've used overseas. These are the parachutes we jumped overseas. These are the optics our guys are shooting with, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there are some new players. One of the groups we're partnering with is Staccato Pistols. I never shot a Staccato pistol in wartime, but it is literally the Rolls Royce of handguns coming out of the box. And they loved the ethos of this brand. And now us and our primary ambassador teams, that's all we're shooting is a pistol currently. And we're doing great business together because we're loyal to each other. So I just think it's one of those things where if you find something that works in combat and the guys that are on their staff were in combat with you, you can put something really cool together. I have yet to find what we can't do with this brand. Maybe my next content shoot will hit the wall, but I got some great ideas.
So are we doing, I'm hearing rumors we're going to do a maritime shoot or an urban shoot.
We're going to do both.
You got any information for me?
We're going to do a maritime and an urban shoot.
I heard about a yacht party as a that's the final target.
That's the final target. You got to
yeah.
close it out big. You know, before we even talk about that, something else I want to talk about, just the ethos. Again, we're an apparel brand, but what are we doing every Friday before we come to work in Born Primitive Tactical? Every employee in Born Primitive Tactical is with me at Freedom Range, and we're shooting for 2 hours. We're an apparel brand. Why is that important to me? Because you got to live it. They have to understand this stuff has to work. So even our coordinators are males, females that were never in SOCOM. We have law enforcement, we have firefighters. They come up and they shoot and they get on the range, and then we come to work. It's just the ethos here, and it's amazing. As far as the content shoot, I'm going to do what I normally do in my typical fashion. I'm going to put together and I'm going to brief you, and you're going to be like, "No way!" And we're going to go do it.
I don't think I don't think I'll ever say no way again, because I just know how you're going to do it. I mean, even his last request, we're trying to validate the Patriot One, the fast roping strip on the inside. We've done abrasion tests, and it outperforms a lot of the competitors' abrasion strip for fast roping. But we're like, there's no way we're going to run this shoe, order thousands of units if it hasn't been actually tested. If you do a 40 or 50 foot fast rope, by the time you hit the ground, that it is so hot because of all the friction, to the point where, you know, if it's high enough, you have enough gear on, guys might wear welding gloves on the rope. And I've burned through a Nike boot, and it wasn't even that high of a rope. By the time I hit the ground, both outsoles were completely disintegrated. That's something. So Bruno comes to me and says, "Hey, I can get us a helicopter in Tennessee so we can do 50-foot fast ropes, just basically me and him, and we'll film it. But hey, it's going to be $50K. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hey, that's the commitment to validating it and it being authentic, because how would we feel if we think we nailed the product and all our guys get it, and they go do a fast rope onto a ship, and 10 dudes burn through that strip on the first rope?
No question.
That's our reputation, right?
That's our reputation. Yeah. And if we do it, we'll do a minimum of like 30 ropes. We will do a 60 or a 90 footer just to break on it hard with a ruck. And I will also throw the rope in a bag of water towards the end, and we'll do a wet rope too. We're not going to walk away from that without doing every single thing the guys could see, so we don't get surprised. It's just the way it is.
I might sit out that 90-foot rope, but
yeah. Well, that'll be one for the welder's gloves.
yeah, you're gonna need the welder's gloves for that one. You're gonna be pinching those feet hard on that one.
Go back to the old Ranger days. That's all.
Screw that.
Bruno, I'd love to pivot a little bit to something that I think, if you're a listener, you're recognizing already, but your ability to stay kind of sharp, both physically and mentally, is something that's also obvious when you spend some time around you. And on a couple of podcasts, actually, the last one we just recorded, we talk often about like kind of people's pillars that keep them in an ideal state, or I call it like state maintenance, meaning like when Bruno shows up best, what do you have to be doing on a daily basis in order for you to show up the best version of you?
It's getting in a routine. The best me ever is a really hard workout in the morning on a nutrition plan, and have my agenda and my deliberate plan for the day and try and stay on it and not get derailed. I mean, to me, yeah, I'm 59 years old, and a healthy mind, a healthy body, and a work ethic is everything to me. The biggest thing I tell people, that if I'm going to bring somebody in, the next born primitive hire I have, I'm judging the person, the character. Do you fit our team? Do you have what it needs to be here? But do you have the gas in the tank? That's the biggest place where people fail. That's the biggest place where guys post-military fail, is they want to lay on what they did their last 20 years and understand that that's great. That gets you in the door. But what keeps you is how much gas do you have in the tank? How much innovation do you still have? Or are you done? Did you flatline? And so to me, to answer that question, get in a routine, healthy mind, healthy body. And I am a list guy. I like to have accomplishments, and I like to not be pulled off track. So I even tell my team, on Monday when we kick off, we do the equivalent of a commander's update brief to me. My team briefs me on the week, and I give them priorities. And when I get to Thursday, when we're closing out, if those priorities aren't met, I'm not happy, because these are my priorities for the week. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things there. One, I'd like to go deeper on, but something Bear and I were just talking about in that same vein, and it's a challenge, I think, especially as you manage people or you oversit a department or departments, is staying focused, like you said. And Bear and I laughed about it earlier, because I think he laughed in the vein of he finally got an executive assistant, and
Long
something
overdue.
and something we always what we harp on that I think is worth kind of double tapping is that it's so easy when you're in a leadership role to get sucked into 15 different things. And yes, you could be adding value to all 15 of those, but then the 3 that actually move the needle, you're giving 10% instead of 30 or 40% too. So I think it's just a good, and there's books written on this. I know The Effective Executive is a great one that I've read, where you should have 2 or 3 things that are your main priorities. And of course, there's going to be some flexibility. You're going to get pulled to other things, but every day you should be making progress towards those. And even your months and years should be structured towards achieving those. And until they're achieved, you don't even reassess a new point. And that sounds extreme, but it actually keeps you and your teams extremely focused, as opposed to you have a nice little priority list for 2 months and then it gets pulled and there's 3 new things on it. It's like, no, you should structure those out. And until they're achieved, and they should be long-term goals, stay hyper focused on those. So love to hear you say that, because I think it's really important to anyone that's listening. If you're in a leadership role, or if you aspire to be, being focused and keeping the team focused around those priorities, it'll pay off big on the back end.
Yeah, and the other piece of that too, I think what goes hand in hand is understanding your seniors' priorities. Because if your priorities are not aligned with their priorities, it doesn't work, especially if you're going down an avenue that's non-productive. At the end of the day, you're looking for production, you're looking for success. So if your priorities don't align with theirs, if you don't understand the commander's intent, your whole team doesn't, and you're pulled off. So the biggest thing to me is to get clear guidance. And that's very clear around here. I mean, if you pay attention, I don't ever need Bear to give me guidance. I pay attention to what he says in meetings. I know what the guidance is. I know it. Some people don't understand implied tasks and specified tasks. When he says something, if he doesn't say, and Bruno, do this, I don't need that. If he says something, it's a freaking implied task. It needs to be done. It goes right in there. So when I am arranging my priorities, whatever comes out of Bear's or Mal's mouth goes into my priorities, and top decks mine, unless it's a time-sensitive thing, and we move on those. A lot of people struggle with, my job description says this, I'm supposed to do this by Friday. When Bear walks in and drops a bomb on you, even if it's a implied task, that goes to the top, you get it done, and then you move to your priorities. And that's very hard for people to understand. And to me, it's I don't get that piece, because I live in that world and always have. I would say for anybody that's in a leadership role, that you need to listen clearly to the people that are giving guidance, and understand guidance may not be something that comes out on an email and specified. If they're harping on something, act. So,
and one thing I like about both of your all stories is, and it's a lesson for anyone, regardless of if you're in a new job or on a new team or whatever, if you put in the effort, and I personally think in today's society, it is not that hard to be in the top 10% of any cohort of people you're ever going to be around. So if I was becoming an employee of company X tomorrow, I think I could very easily be within that 10% because of the mentality I'm gonna approach it with, right? Hey, I'm probably gonna try to stay. I'm gonna work longer, especially in the early years, to earn my keep. But hey, I'm gonna be a sponge, and I'm gonna observe more, and I'm gonna take more notes. And in the meetings, I'm not gonna be sitting there leaning back in my chair. And I want to prove myself in that environment. And you guys tenfold have done that. Obviously, Tony, with your story, you were a part-time warehouse employee hourly, and I would be there at 7:00 at night lifting in the warehouse gym, and I'd see you across through the window sweeping the floors, and it's 7:00 at night, and no one else is there other than me and Tony. Like, that type of shit matters. Was I asking you to sweep the floors? No, you weren't. That's just one, just how you're raised. But two, you were saying, all right, I'm going to go above and beyond and do what's outside of my job responsibilities to prove myself, because you were, confident, hopefully, that it'll eventually pay off, and it did pretty freaking quick. Same thing with you. You came in with the same mentality you did from the previous job, and you immediately made an impact. And now, you're a key player here, obviously. So I think that's just a lesson for anyone. I think a lot of people kind of go into things and maybe they half-ass it because they think, oh, it's not worth it. I'm not going to get out of it what I put in. And maybe you're with an employer that is not going to adequately reward you for really putting in that extra effort. And I think in those cases, you need to find a new employer, because you don't want to spin your wheels for 5 years, killing yourself, and like your boss is just delusional and doesn't even know it anyway, or he's just a dick and won't reward it. But in the right environment, you can, I think, accelerate your career very quickly by just going a little bit above and beyond what is asked of you, and just get after it. And obviously, you guys have done that. So I think it's worth calling that out.
When I think, like, to go a layer deep on that, and Bruno called it out, is I think one of the things that makes you stand out instantly within an organization too is, and this is where it relates to what Bruno said, is like being able to take seniors, or it could even be peers or even below you, an initiative that could move the needle, taking action on that immediately. But then also, and here's where it was with like, if you have a good boss or somebody above you, if you see a dumb idea getting rolled out that you don't think should be getting rolled out, approaching, like, not being afraid to address it in a professional manner, to say like, hey, let's, like, shouldn't this get prioritized over that? Or can we look at this a different way? Like, that's what I like, even myself, who has several departments underneath me. It's so refreshing when that happens, because a lot of times people will see it from an angle you didn't see. And if everybody's just yes manning and like, oh, we're just doing it because it got rolled down, it's like, you could end up doing a lot of dumb shit. So I think kind of in the vein of like, hard work gets you in the door, and then when it starts to open up and be a little more nuanced, that nuanced of having the courage to address. Now, here's where, like, if you're going to address something you don't think you should be doing, especially if it got rolled out from a superior, it's like, you better have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and have a case put together as to why that is. But I think that's just a layer deeper too, of like, that's advice I give everyone, is like, hey, have the courage. If you feel strongly, or if you have a gut feeling about something, discuss that, because your seniors, especially if they see that you're right on a couple, all of a sudden they're like, shit, when he does this, we need to listen. And I think that's important, because there is a time to be a yes man and just do, but then it does evolve where you build enough trust. You've got to be a true sounding board for ideas, and just the people above you, because you guys, you'll get to a finer solution much quicker.
Yeah, one of the things on that, and this is from being a pretty senior leader in the military, and I've adopted it to my crew here. What I teach people is that the more effort you put in, and the stuff that you put in that has effort, that is paying dividends, you create a almost reward system with your leader. And what I mean by that is everybody that comes in underneath me comes in constrained. Stay within these painted lines, do what I ask you to do. The more you prove to me that your innovative thinking and your effort is there, the more unconstrained I get with you, and the more rope I give you. And the next thing I know, I realize I'm not having to supervise this person anymore. They get it, they're moving on, and they're adding to the team, and they're bringing innovation. And then the only thing you really have to do as a leader is, when that person does that, make sure that person gets credit for it, not you. They're the innovator. They're the one that came up with it. Put it into play, make them the point man, and run with it.
Well, and that's the nuance there is so important, because that's how you build a strong team. And it can be a struggle of like, when somebody earns when somebody has shown innovation and like time and time again prove that they not only can get the job done, but do some things better than you, set them free. And what I mean by that is like still give them a right and left limit, but don't at all tell them how to do that. And what you're doing then is you're building an autonomous team that will have, you'll get to solutions and you'll get to process the implementation and just overall like better thought forms so much quicker, because it's not relying on Bruno having a great idea. You have 4 people underneath you all of a sudden that have earned, and it should be earned. You do have to earn that, where like they've proven, like I said, time and time again. And when you set them loose and give them a level of autonomy to say like, hey, and Bear and I were talking about this earlier too, like, hey, they might be a little bit better at this than I am. Let them go. Like, and it just creates a very like reciprocal ecosystem where everybody's equally contributing, and you're not having to manage those people anymore. You still do, but not really. Do you know what I mean?
And the other byproduct of that too, and this goes back to my military lineage, is that when you build people that way, what you're also building is depth in the organization. So Bruno has a heart attack. Bruno gets run over by a truck. These people have been working so independently, unconstrained, that they can pick up Bruno's load and run with it and keep the ship right until we figure out how we're going to replace the guy. And that's, depth is huge. And a lot of businesses don't think that way. One of the things I told Bear very early on is I sat with him after being here about 6 months, and I pulled him aside and I'm like, hey, these are your single point of failures in this business. This person goes, this happens, we're in trouble. And he's like, yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And I think that's vital, because if you have a single point of failure anywhere and it's not identified, you could be in trouble quick.
Yeah, and you should be able to, like a healthy system, you should be able to go. And I know you have I think Mexico's your spot, right? Like,
God.
You should be able to go for a week. And of course there's times where like, and we've all had these where like, you go and you still need to be plugged in, but then they're like a healthy system. You should be able to unplug for even a month. And of course, none of us have probably ever done that, but like if you should be able to remove yourself from a month, and that thing should be able to operate. And if not, you have a shitty system. Now, we've all had shitty systems at times, but like a good sustainable system should not be contingent upon one individual to run that.
Well, and it's around the concept of the decentralized command. We had, remember Sean Glass, he retired SEAL commander, and he had a great lesson. He was at the training cell for part of his career, and they would put, of course, platoons through various trainings. And one thing he identified, and this makes total sense to what you guys are talking about, is the platoons that had successfully decentralized the command. If they put the chief down, it didn't matter. It's almost like they didn't even know half the time, because
everybody's picked up a load.
Exactly. And you have intent. Hey, one's on line, 2 flank or whatever. Hey, hold left, clear right. It's just like you keep eating and that's it. And he said the platoons that were overly reliant, or maybe they had a really good platoon chief who, because he was good, would maybe micromanage the clearance a little bit. If you put him down, the guys are now not set up to run the show without him. And that lesson is 100% applicable to business as well. And if you can, train in a way that guys can go off of commander's intent, maybe initially, it won't go as smoothly, because of course I could come in and be like, all right, Bruno, I want you to do this, this, and this. All right, Tony, I want you to do this, this, and this. Maybe in the beginning that works, but as you get a bigger organization that has way more things happen, and of course, it's not sustainable. So if you set it up like that way from the beginning, that's how you build, I think, a real organization. And I know a lot of corporations are really bad with that. It's the opposite. There's 8 levels of approval you have to get, and there's bureaucracy. Where here we're kind of the opposite. You know what I mean? Now, we're not that big yet. There's like 75 of us, but still, I would hope if there's 500 of us, we still have the same mentality that, hey, Bruno, that's the intent I gave. If it's within those constraints, do it. Just and then report back later. I don't need to approve that. Get out of my office. You know the answer is yes.
No, I love it. I love how you refer to us as having that scrappy mentality, because that's how I see it. I mean, case in point, for anybody that's listening, Bear didn't come to me and tell me my 2025 objectives for tactical. I went to him and said, this is what I want to do in 2025. And he's like, wow, 3 of those are really cool. I would have never thought of those. And have you thought about this? And I'm like, nope, let me add that in there, and we rock and roll and we move forward as a team. But that's what's fostered here is you should identify what's moving the needle and what your next step is. I shouldn't have to be told. And that's key to me. And that atmosphere exists here. And believe it or not, when I talk to a lot of my, fellow soft operators that are with a lot of other companies, that doesn't exist. And I'm talking about in brands that support the soft community. They don't allow that outward thinking, that innovation. It's very constrained. And it honestly comes back to who owns the company, how the company is run, and how big is the company. So yes, that is a challenge when we're, in the new building next year and we are double in size and we continue to grow and we're looking to, we just have to stay that scrappy. I think that's the key.
Well, as of now, the new building has 28 additional desks we're planning in. So hopefully, how long is that going to last us, Tone? You think about
I think another 2 years.
You
So,
think 2 years
2027, we're going to be having the conversation
I'm going to say,
again.
God damn it, I did it again. Yeah.
We're going to have to put a basement in.
We need to just go buy like 20 acres in Pungo and be like, all right, I'm building a 300,000 square foot facility.
Yeah.
It's going to be empty, but we're going to eventually fill it.
Bruno, let's go a little deeper on, I know something you're passionate about and still compete to some level. I don't know, the last couple of years, I know you had a back injury you're dealing with, but what is it about bodybuilding, but then also just fitness as a whole that you've remained so disciplined, so committed to, and what are the benefits to you as an individual? And if somebody's kind of like either struggling with that journey or just getting on that journey, what are some broad, and I know you said a little bit like, hey, structure, nutrition, but like how I know you've helped coach people as well. So what are some just baseline things to get people kind of building some momentum? Because I think that's what you've stacked now decades of momentum on top of each other, which builds just a really strong foundation versus people that they do it good for 2 months and then they're off for 4 months and then back on it for 2 months. And it just kind of becomes a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah. So there's one word that encompasses a true fitness lifestyle. It's lifestyle. You can't go out and drink on Friday and Saturday and on the Monday go, okay, I'm in the gym, let's hit it. You have to convert your lifestyle. No matter, and I had to learn this from my spouse. My wife's a pro athlete. She's been competing in the bodybuilding community for over 20 years, judge, coach. And I learned some of this from her, but not all of it. I started out as an endurance athlete. I've done Olympic level triathlons, at the Alcatraz swim when it was a biathlon. And as I got older, my ability to have time to train and my body to sustain that type of training couldn't take it. And I transitioned to different events. When I met Amanda, I started lifting weights in a different way. I've always been a hybrid athlete. I am absolutely not a true bodybuilder. She actually called me out because I was mocking people she was judging one time. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. So yes, I am a pro IFBB bodybuilder. I am going to compete in the World Championships next year. And it is going to take me a full year to get on stage with nutrition training that is for that event. I'm also going to compete in the Highland Games next year. So I'm a little bit of a diverse athlete. But to get there, it's the same thing as to be successful anywhere. It's commitment. You cannot do it halfway. You're either all in or you're not. So for me, the foundation is nutrition and sleep and training. Those are the three things that really matter. I'm telling you in the soft community that we are horrible on nutrition and sleep. Deployments don't support it. When you're pulling meat out of a freaking cooler overseas and it says for prison or military use only, grade D, I mean, that's what you're eating. MREs, it's toxic poison, but you do it when you can and you sustain. So when you understand what your body fires off of, food, sleep, and then you train as a performance athlete, you win. I will tell you, I do not feel right unless I train. I'm 59 years old. I train 6 days a week, and my off day is an active rest day. It's the way my spouse and I live. And to this day, I can still go in any gym and destroy a 30-year-old. And some of it's will and, mindset because I have it and maybe they don't. But so many people these days talk about want, should, could. I'm going to tell you right now, nobody's ever stood on a podium and used the word hope. So to me, it's just getting after it and staying in it and being committed and making it your lifestyle. Now, do I want to have a nice bourbon and a cigar with Bear after we, have a very successful year? It's happening. I'm 59 years old. I'm going to enjoy life. But I probably went 25 years in my life where I was never off nutrition unless I was deployed. And that's how you get it. In a nutshell, it's a commitment like no other because you cannot outlift and outrun bad nutrition. You just can't. So
Great. Cool. What's a belief system Bruno had at age 30 that has evolved or changed to where you're at now?
Ooh.
And this can be anything. This could be relationship. This can be nutrition, fitness, work.
I'll throw this out there real quick for the married guys. Happy wife, happy life. I mean, and just to be honest with you, I think the most important thing a person can do is be true to yourself and just be an honest person. One thing I will tell you is people that I don't get along with know it. I don't have to say it behind their back. My body language and my mouth let it known. I just believe that being a true person out there is the most important thing you can be. That's why I'll never be a politician. But I, this is what you get. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. And everybody knows that to me, it's always been, the flag, the country, the military. It's just who I am. But there's things I don't like to get wrapped up in. Like, I didn't watch the presidential debate the other night. I refuse to watch that stuff because I'll just get angry. So it's one of those that I know how I'm going to vote. I hope everybody votes the same way I do. We know what's good for the country. But where I was at 30 and where I am now, I think when you get some age behind you, you start looking at the younger generations and you start saying, like, to me, and I think the women will agree with me on this one, to me, today's man is weak. I think that it's producing a weak man. I think that they're not strong mind, not strong body. And that's why a 59-year-old like me can still roll with anybody. So, I mean, opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting with the youth, man. I got some friends and former teammates that coach, like middle school and high school now. And I think I trust their judgment on being able to kind of assess. And what I'm hearing is not great news. You know what I mean? Like, so that scrappy, work your butt off mentality, even with like sports like football and stuff. And hopefully it hasn't like infiltrated things like wrestling, but who knows? It's just, it's a completely different mindset. You know what I mean? And I wonder is there a way for that to make a comeback, almost because it becomes like a retro concept and then it becomes cool again, or once that erodes, do you ever get it back?
So let me just jump in there and say culturally, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. The only reason I went in the military, the people that know my story, is I was a very high-end high school athlete that, because in South Florida, if you play ball, you don't even have to go to school. And I started getting in trouble, and I was a violent person. I liked punching people. It just was what I was into when I was younger. And I got in a lot of trouble. And I literally had a judge say, military or jail. And I went in the military. That is not done today in today's culture. Kids like me don't have that option. And look how I turned out. When you look at the military, I hate to say this, you have some great operators coming through the door, but the military wants choir boys that have never been in trouble. And I'm telling you, you don't get Vikings going overseas and shooting people in the face that are choir boys. It's just not how they get them. That's how you get guys like me and guys like Bear. So I think culturally the problem is when we've shifted away from even the military taking people like that, or, hey, this is acceptable, or this is how we correct a guy like that. Now, how do you correct a guy like me? You put him on some kind of medication. You put him in feel-good camp, and all that shit doesn't work. So that's just my 2 cents.
I want a crystal ball, Born Primitive Tactical for a minute. We'll have some fun with it. If we could look ahead, and let's say 3 years from now, Born Primitive Tactical, where would you like it to be? Where do you think you can get it?
I will tell you, if we stay true to who we are today and continue to build the way we are today, we will own the space. That's my opinion. I'm not going to badmouth any other brands out there because I've worn all those brands in combat, but we have something they don't. We have a salt in us that says we're never good enough. We're always going to evolve. We're always going to be the best. And we're always going to have the operators tell us this is the right stuff and give us input. We have the saying, we're by the operator for the operator. Nobody else can say that. We weren't made by fashion designers. We're not made by companies owned by, New York people that don't even support the military. We're owned by a former soft guy, and you have a former soft guy for 4 decades designing it with a team underneath him that has a lot of that blood in it. and nothing goes out the door that doesn't get run through the tiers and the most elite SWAT teams. So where do I think we're going to be in 3 years? I think we're going to own the space. I think we are going to be the brand. And I think that it's on us to still pick up that phone call when it's a 5-man SWAT team from the middle of nowhere and say, I want uniforms, and say, I got you, not I'm too big for you.
Absolutely. And we've seen that with some of the big brands. That unfortunately has happened with them. Even big entities calling them, and they don't even pick up the phone. And we're never going to lose that scrappy mentality. I mean, shit, you still see me and you responding to DM or comments on Instagram. You know, it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm going through the comments on Instagram. I'm responding myself to these people, and I think you can't lose that mentality. And I think there's a reckoning happening in corporate America a little bit, particularly with kind of consumer brands like us, that the consumer is starting to care a little bit more about the values and ethos associated with the companies they support. And this isn't really something in the early days of Born Primitive I saw as like, hey, this is going to be a differentiator for us. You know, to me, that was just, okay, well, these are the values that I hold dear as an American. So that's going to be the values of the company that I'm going to build. But we're starting to see it play out in a way that, particularly in tactical and outdoor, where, you know, it tends to be a little bit more of a, you know, Midwest, more conservative, you know, kind of God-fearing, America-loving audience, supporters of military and first responder, that we've been unafraid to project our love of our country and our support of our military and first responders. And that is, I think, paying off now that is our customer, because they know, hey, this isn't just a punchline for us. You know, this coming November, we will execute the largest impact to the veteran community we've ever done, 50x. We've already donated, I think, no more than $100,000 this year to veteran
We're probably
charities.
over 200.
Yeah, maybe 200. It's a lot. You know, the previous year, we had the 100K on Veterans Day, 100K the year before. North of 2 million to date donated. So this is not just a punchline. It's not some marketing gimmick in the corporate boardroom. And of course, you know, a lot of us live that life. You know, over half of our employees are veterans, former first responders, and spouses, right? So to me, it's like, you know, while that was not the original intent, I now see that as playing out strategically, and it is absolutely our secret sauce. I was talking about this on a call yesterday. That is the moat around our castle. If you want to, you know, create a leggings brand or a tactical brand tomorrow, you can. There's not really a big barrier to entry, but to build that up takes years of consistent behavior that is in alignment with real values and done in an authentic way. And that's why I'm so excited about this, because we don't have any private equity money or anything like that. We answer to no one. We can do whatever the hell we want, and there's no filters on us being authentic to our end consumer, and that's what makes us freaking dangerous, right? That's why the brands that you know about that are talking about us in their boardrooms are afraid of us, because those brands are publicly traded companies or they're owned by PE firms. And guess what they can't do? They can't go out to the desert and shoot 300,000 rounds and blow 3 cars up and jump out of a plane and talk about their love of country and maybe have a little edge to them to call out some bullshit on our society and be unapologetic about it. They can't do it. That is our differentiator. And of course, we have to have good product, which we talked about how we're doing that and the process we have there. To me, though, that's almost like one of our implied tasks. But a specified task is, hey, we need to continue to be authentic to our end consumer and be unafraid to project that. And that's what, honestly, that's what gets me so excited about Born Primitive. Because the consumer wants that right now, and it's so scarce, and it blows me away as to why that. I mean, there's so many opportunities for companies to kind of honestly steal our secret sauce, and I see it a little bit, and we chuckle. We see it, yeah, we see it, but it's okay. I mean, that means you're doing it right. So that's what fires me up to come into work every day. And of course, that's BP Maine too. It's not just for tactical and outdoor. Like, we've always been who we are. So kind of a long rant there, but
it's good though, because two things on that subject. One, I'm in a position in life with, I actually did take care of myself, and I don't need to come to work right now. I enjoy coming to work, and I enjoy doing what we're doing because we are on a path. And it's exciting because, one, when I have national level SWAT teams, federal agencies, tier 1 units, SOCOM units calling me and going, dude, we just got the OpTop Pro. where was this thing 20 years ago when you and I were rolling in X country? Yeah, I mean, guess what? We're there now, and we're taking care of this generation and all that. And that's why I'm stepping my toes into the outdoor side of the house here at the business too, because to me, hey, this is what I see. You might be hunting an elk, you might be hunting a man, but I'm going to build you apparel that you can go hunt whatever you want. It's a no-fail mission, and that's what we're attempting to achieve here. It's always a challenge, and we'll get there. But if we have that scrappiness mentality and we don't have to answer to people, we're in the right place. So.
Is that the new slogan for for the two departments together? We give you gear to go hunting, winky face.
Regardless of what it is.
Of what it is.
Regardless of the target.
Yeah.
That could be a really cool reel.
Yeah, we could. There's a lot we could go with that. And just for the listeners, most might be tracking, but just to kind of frame up the actual product super quick for tactical, it's particularly if you're military or you're law enforcement, federal. We have an operational uniform. We call them op camis, but it's the op assault pant. And then we have the op top. We have a long sleeve and a short sleeve, and we just launched the op top pro, which is just a slightly upgraded version of the op top with a chest fabric that's like super Gucci, and everyone's loving it. I think that's going to be the new hotness. And then we have rain shirts for wearing under kit. The op assault pant is our flagship product. We put a ton of time into that. And it's basically meant to replace, the pants that guys are currently wearing, and it takes into account all the little features that they're going to need. Obviously that's rooted in real feedback from real guys that do the job. So we are very confident anyone who gets that pant, you can stack it up against anyone. They're going to get it and say, you know what? They thought through every little detail, and yep, makes sense. And that's why we're most excited. And then with our outdoor stuff, all extended field stay. So base layers, mid layers, outer layers. Our Frontier 2.0 pant, there's a light and a heavy. It's incredible pant. We just came out with the 4-way stretch rain gear, which was rooted in us all getting issued rain gear that doesn't stretch. And then when it's raining for 3 days straight and you got a ruck on and you're going up and down mountains and you can't move because it doesn't stretch, there's got to be a functional solution to this. We found the event fabric with the 4-way stretch, and that thing's unreal. So if you're in the market for it, check out bornprimitive.tactical.com. All the outdoor stuff is on there as well. Just keep an eye on the Patriot 1. Hopefully that'll be, what do we think? Spring,
summer.
Spring 25. I'm actually, let me throw it up on the desk here. I'm wearing the.
Look at those bad boys.
Here's the black.
I'll put the barefoot up on the thing.
That'll be a big launch for us. I've been wearing these for the last month, and these things are unreal. So I know once we validate that fast rope thing, which hopefully I don't have to do the 90-footer.
It's now a challenge.
Yeah, there you go. I think I'm going to be sick that day. But Bruno, you got anything else to close it out?
No, the only thing I'll say is kind of looking forward is something really exciting is when we get out to SHOT Show, which for y'all that don't know is the third week of January, we're going to kind of be unveiling something that we've been working for a while, and that is our trade compliant and burial line, which is going to be huge. What we're doing is we're developing a line, all USA made fabrics that'll be trade compliant, burial compliant, and that's for the big government agencies that, I'm dealing quite a bit with all the operators having to do credit card swipes, individual swipes. So we're trying to do something to get it where your agencies can purchase it for you. Guys, that's coming. It's not a quick process. There's a reason so many brands don't do it. And the key thing to note is it's going to be a component system that is going to merge outdoor and tactical together. It's going to be about slightly under 25 items, but it's going to go from base layers to heavy puff coats, and it'll cover you end to end. And I'm really excited about that because that is honestly my number one priority for 2025. And when it hits, trust me, you're going to know.
Oh yeah. No, we're excited. That's been in the works for a minute now.
Yes, it has.
Tony, you got anything else?
Love it. I know we have we teased the tactical podcast yet?
No, but we should.
There will
that's
be
an appropriate time.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I was going to give
all right.
I was going to give a kind of a sneak peek that these two, Bear and Bruno, will be doing a tactical podcast that's set to launch
hopefully March of 25.
March of 25.
Yeah, we'll start recording in January, and that first episode will drop in March, and then we'll have a whole new studio. Likely for that. Yep. And then at the new place, we'll have a whole new studio. So you can expect kind of the look and feel for both podcasts to change. We're kind of in idea mode right now, but I think it's gonna be pretty badass. We're gonna have like a big LED screen behind us, and we can change the images. And you know, what I mean, Bruno wants to get some like leather chairs and probably some
unfiltered.
stogies. Unfiltered.
Yeah,
that's right.
You know, we want the tactical community. You guys know the deal. We're gonna have some good hot wash talk. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and the setup right now is cool, but I feel like we should be interrogating somebody in here with these fluorescent lights above us.
Yeah.
No, the Ironclad team killed it, but yeah, stoked to get that going, and yeah, that will focus more on the military, law enforcement, outdoor audience. A bit more specific to that. You know, there's been some things, Tony, I've wanted to do here, but I'm like, I don't think it's quite the right audience. I don't want people to be turned off by me nerding out on things like that. But so yeah, be ready for that. We're excited about it.
Perfect. Well, Bruno, thanks for hopping on. I know people get to know you a little better once that one gets released. There's layers to this guy. So you got the first 2 layers today, but there's another 40 down below. He's had a hell of a career, so appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. Enjoy working with you and here every day. And a lot of great things to come with this company. We don't take any time off. You know, Bill Belichick, you say no days off. Trust me and this guy are texting 7 p.m. Sunday night. My wife's looking at me like, Bear? I'm like, Bear.
Yeah. There's 2 people I typically will bug. It's you and Mal, because you and Mal both bug me. So if you're bugging me, I'm bugging you back.
Get it back?
You're consenting to now me texting you on the weekends.
Yeah.
Or if it's 6 a.m., I know you're awake, so I'll slack you at 6 a.m. where everybody else, I usually schedule it to hit their 9 a.m.
All good. All good.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.